What's going on, guys? It's Mirwin. Today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite albums from 2023. So if you guys haven't been watching the YouTube channel, I've been talking about some of my favorite albums from 2023. Today the album we're going to be doing is Utopia from Travis Scott. If you guys haven't watched any of the past videos, I kind of talk about what I liked from the album, what I didn't like, and some of my favorite songs from the album. So today, like I said, we're going to be talking about Utopia from Travis Scott. This has been, one of the most highly anticipated albums in, rap for, probably since Kendrick dropped. Outside Kendrick, then the focus, I think, kind of moved again towards Travis Scott with Utopia, as far as like being the most anticipated release. So I was really hyped for this. I'm kind of not a huge Travis Scott fan. I'm kind of a middle of the ground fan. I enjoy his music. Definitely every album has got a bunch of songs that I like from him, but I'm not like a crazy fan of him. I really enjoyed Astroworld. Lots of songs I really enjoy in there. Probably my favorite album of his, and definitely has some of my favorite songs of his on that album. So I was really excited to see how he followed that up. This album was really different, really interesting in that I think he took a lot of directions that I think were really different than what people expected. I think he could have very easily went the route of trying to go with an Astroworld 2, go a little more commercial, just kind of keep the same formula, and then, just try and, something in that regard. But I think something that I really respect about this album, and, I definitely still, I think, I'm a little disappointed and underwhelmed by the album, but we'll get to that a little bit later. I really am impressed by the production, I think, with this album. I think he went a way different direction with the production than Astroworld. Astroworld maybe a little bit more of the mainstream inspired sound in that album, whereas this one he went with a lot more, like a lot of people have said, surrounding, I don't have a lot of, things that haven't been said before, but, definitely has a lot of Yeezus inspired sound, which I think was really cool to hear him over that. So I think that was really interesting, and I definitely respect him trying to, push in that regard. I think this album probably has, in my opinion, some of his best production. Some people may not know, but Travis Scott also does production for his music as well. So just, regardless of what songs he did that on for this album, I think overall this album has some of the best production of his albums, in my opinion, or at least, the most creative, different from his other albums. So I really liked that. Something I also really enjoyed about this album was the features. So he had a wide range of features on this album. Like I said, this is a little bit of a longer album. I would probably cut a couple songs, at least, probably 3 or 4, and definitely rearrange the track list as well. But he has a wide range of features. We got James Blake, which I love. We got Young Thug, Westside Gunn, Kid Cudi. We got Bad Bunny. We got Playboi Carti, Drake, we got Tizo Touchdown. So lots of features on this album, which I think definitely helped it, considering it being a longer album, definitely helped keep it interesting. Beyonce on this album. Some of the things that I think kind of going off of that I didn't like maybe, is I think some of these features were maybe not utilized as well as they could have been. So like I said, the song with Beyonce I think is probably one of the weaker songs on the album. The song just kind of doesn't really go anywhere, and it's just kind of all over the place. So I think, like I say, having Beyonce in the album is great. I think if you could have maybe utilized that a little bit better, would have been good. Some of the other ones, like I say, Topia Twins, again, one of my weaker songs in the album. Circus Maximus as well, again, a weaker song in the album in my opinion, which also has some really good features on both of those, where it's like you got 21 Savage on that one, but it's like this isn't really a feature we haven't heard anything from before from 21 Savage. And then Circus Maximus, we got The Weeknd and Sway Lee, two massive vocal artists for singing. Probably would have liked to see a little bit more from that song as well with those artists there. But on the flip side, you got Westside Gunn, definitely an artist you probably wouldn't have expected to be of Travis Scott, but also a really good song. And then Telekinesis, Until Further Notice, you got SZA and Future on Telekinesis, probably the best song on the album in my opinion. And again, artists that we haven't really, I think Future maybe has made some songs with Travis Scott before, I'm not 100% sure, don't quote me on that. SZA obviously has collaborated Travis with Love Galore. And then Till Further Notice with James Blake, I think that might have been his first collaboration of Travis, but those probably being the songs, and also Fiend with Playboi Carti, pretty much a perfect mix there, and also one of my favorites as well. So, and then you got Tizo on there as well, so just a lot of good features. I think some of them maybe weren't utilized quite as good as others, but just a lot of good features on there, which I think was really good, especially again it being a longer album. I think that was almost, you kind of had to do that. If you had like a 19 song album of just Travis Scott, I think it would have definitely underwhelmed or disappointed a lot more people. And again, just the creative growth from Travis, production wise. I think that was really cool, seeing him trying to go in some different areas, get some different inspiration. I think that was really dope, as opposed to trying to maybe take the safer approach and try and go more of an Astroworld 2 thing. Some of the stuff I didn't like here. So like I said, longer track list. I think we definitely could have cut some. I think the first half is really good. Like, there isn't much I would change there. Hyena all the way down to Fiend, and the Think is like perfect. Like, I wouldn't change anything. Then we get that song with Beyonce. Like I said, I think that song doesn't really go anywhere. It just kind of is all over the place. I would probably cut that one or put Beyonce on a different song. I Know is really good. Also, solid. Then we get into this stretch here where we got Utopia Twins all the way down to like Parasail and Schizo. And that's where we start getting a little bit, especially with Utopia Twins and Circus Maximus, where I'm like, okay, I think we could cut those, reallocate those features. Parasail is obviously a little bit more of an interlude, so I think that one's good. Schizo, again, that one's, fine. K-pop would be one also where I'm like, okay, I think we could probably reallocate those features again. Maybe similar to what I said on For All the Dogs with Bad Bunny and Drake's song there. I think, we got three massive artists here. We got Travis Scott, Bad Bunny, and The Weeknd. And the song really just isn't quite as good as I think many people would hope it to be. So that's probably another song I would cut there. So I think we could definitely cut some songs, make it a little bit tighter, especially on that back half for sure of this album. Definitely, gets a little stagnant, especially in that section after I Know, until you start getting into like Lost Forever and stuff like that. So I think that would be good. Another thing is, I think for these are all critiques again where every album doesn't have to have necessarily a theme or a message, but I think for an artist as big as Travis Scott, especially in rap, where a lot of times we put him up there with the Kendricks, Coles, Drakes, Kanye, even kind of put him in that realm. I think I would love to see a little more focus on the album as far as like kind of having some type of story, maybe not story, but just some sort of overall theme or message, connecting all the songs on the album as opposed to just being a mixture of songs. Something that he hasn't really done too much in his music. I think Astroworld is probably the closest he's done to having done that before. And I think the only reason he really has that with that album is mostly just so of the marketing, where it's like the festival, Astroworld, kind of having that whole experience of the festival, whatever. And he did have some stuff that made me think leading up to this that he might be doing that with this album, where Utopia, kind of this perfect place, kind of escape from reality type idea. I forget what the quotes he had, but he had some stuff that made me leading up to this album feel like, yeah, maybe there's going to be some type of some skits or whatever, just something. And he didn't really do that, but I think there was definitely an opportunity there, especially again with the title of the album, Utopia, doing something. I think of kind of what Lil Uzi did on Eternal Take with those little skits with the spaceship and stuff. I think it could have done something really simple, just throw on some little stuff just to connect all these songs together a little more cohesively with some type of storyline, maybe again kind of lean to the Utopia idea. I think that would have been really good. And again, not every album has to have a theme or message or even like a storyline, but I think for how highly rated or how highly regarded Travis Scott is in the rap community, I would like to see him do that. Another thing as well is also I would like to hear a lot more lyrically from Travis. So My Eyes is probably the best song in my opinion on the album and the best song lyrically. He definitely that one has some good lyrics on it for sure, definitely some good writing. But I think again for how highly rated Travis Scott is in the rap community, I would love to hear just a little bit more lyrically from him. I think if he could ever if he was as good lyrically as he was production wise, he would be, I said this to someone while I was talking about the album, if he was as good lyrically as he was production wise, he would be undisputed one like the greatest hip hop artist of all time. But I think that's definitely always been a weakness for him, but I think he's certainly capable of making that jump lyrically. I know a lot of people also kind of counter-arguing against that have said, if you're coming to Travis Scott for lyrics, you probably listen to the wrong artist. But I think, again, just for how highly rated he is and how high, how popular he is in the rap community, I would love to hear a little bit more lyrically. Obviously, lyrics are a huge part of rap, so I would love to hear just a little bit more from him there. Like I say, there aren't really a ton of songs where you're like, oh wow, that was really a bar, or even just like, what is this song about, or what is he even really saying? Gets. I think he gets a lot of times in that area where it's like almost a 21 Savage feature, where it's like talking about the same things, saying the same thing, but maybe just a slightly different way. So I'd love to hear him just push himself a little more lyrically, talk about some different stuff. Talk about being a father, different things like that. There's a lot of discourse on that with Drake as well, but I think I would just like to hear him push himself a little bit more lyrically. Overall, you know, we're talking about some of my favorite songs. We got My Eyes, Telekinesis, Thank God, and then Fiend are my favorites. Definitely an album, like I said, probably didn't live quite up to my expectations. Still a great album, probably what I would have as my rap album of the year, I think. But I think I would love to just see a little bit more growth from Travis lyrically. Still a great album. Hyena, or however you say it, is also a great song. Definitely a great opener. One of probably the best openers, I think. I would say better than Stargazing, in my opinion. But also a great opener as well. I don't know if I mentioned that. Oh, excuse me. But also just a great opener for the album as well. So also a really solid album. Like I said, I enjoyed it. Definitely still, I think there are some flaws with this album, but I definitely can respect the creative risks he took on this album. So definitely enjoyed it, and I've actually returned to it a lot more than I did initially, where I was like maybe a little, you know, underwhelmed from it. But definitely have returned to it a decent amount. So that is all for this episode today, guys. I also have a bunch more videos talking about some of my other favorite albums from this year. Definitely encourage you guys to check those out. Like I said, I got my album coming out soon for in a couple of weeks here, real soon. So definitely encourage you guys to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss out on that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Peace.